My name is Vanessa. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I read in June. I don't know if I'm going to be a stats person. This is definitely my best reading month of the year. I'm not sure if it was because I was recording most of the things or if I was just like, I'm gonna read everything that I can. Normally I'm like 6 to 7 books, maybe. I think, hold on. I have read 18 books. Now, because it's June and it's Pride Month, I tried to read only queer books. There is one book that is not a queer book, or it doesn't have a queer protagonist. Oh, I mean, they could be. So my first read of the month was Face Off by Chelsea Curto. I love hockey romances. I will say that every time I get to talk about one, and I do have a few others on here, so maybe I'm gonna nip that in the bud now. But this is about two NHL players, a man and a woman, and I believe this is like her first half season. She's kind of like the first one officially drafted for an NHL team in this world, and there's initially, I believe, like one of the tropes listed was rivals to lovers, which I didn't really agree with. But she doesn't really like him to begin with. But then romance ensues, more like a toleration. She starts to tolerate him. And then they start like a friends with benefits situation. I started this at the end of May. I finished it June 1st. I could have put this on pause for the entire month of June, but I really wanted to know how it ended and what happened. And it made me really excited to read more by this author. I am excited for the rest of this series. I'm gonna start reading the other series by her. I really enjoyed this. I believe this is my first 5-star of the year, or my second. It's one of those. My next read was Here for the Wrong Reasons by Annabelle Paulson and Lydia Wang. I love dating show contestants who fall for each other. I think it's the cutest thing. One is there to find love, one is there to build her following, and then they just fall for each other. It's really cute. I really enjoyed it. I'm happy with the ending. One of my favorite reads for this month. My next read was Mistakes Were Made by Meryl Wilsner. So I didn't like this as much as I expected to. It kind of made me a little uncomfortable, and I'm not sure why. Like, I have no problem with the age gap, but some part of the story kind of made me a little uncomfortable. I do have more by this author. It's not turning me off from reading her. It's just this story in particular. This is about Cassie and Aaron. Aaron is Cassie's best friend's mom. Cassie and Aaron meet during a family weekend. Cassie's parents aren't there, or Cassie's family isn't there, but Aaron is there for her daughter. And because she's divorced, she decides to go out to a bar so her daughter and her ex-husband can like have a night alone without her. And then, you know, things happen. They believe it's gonna be a one-night stand, but it's not just one night for these two. Don't exactly remember what I rated this. I do believe I rated it kind of mid. I'm not sure. There should be a rating somewhere. My next read was Failed Princesses by, and I'm gonna butcher this, and I'm so sorry, Ajichi. This is about two girls who are kind of in different like popularity classes. One is super popular, one is not as popular, and their friends judge them for like becoming friends. This was the only volume I could find at the time. I've had this for like 2 years. This was the only volume I could find. I do need to pick up more just for the rest of the story to kind of build, but this was like a cute beginning, and I'm excited to see more of them. My next read was The Witch and the Vampire by Francesca Flores. This is about two witches. One has become a vampire. They're really good friends at first, but when one becomes a vampire, she kind of disappears. She is being locked away by her mother, who doesn't want the vampire hunting witches to know that she has become a vampire because it's gonna mess up her plan. Because she was turned into a vampire so young, she still has her witch abilities because her mother has become a vampire, and even though she was a witch, she has lost those powers. I liked it. I didn't love it. It wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. I didn't really read the synopsis when I bought it. I mostly just saw the cover and thought that's really cute. Like, that's a beautiful, stunning cover, and I want to read it. My next read is one that I was really excited for, Outdrawn by Deanna Gray. This is about two comic book artists who are also competing for a webcomic ranking to win a prize. I really enjoyed this. I really loved this. Noah is just hired into the comic book company, and Sage is her co-head artist, and they went to school together, weren't necessarily friends, but they knew of each other. So they are hired, one before the other obviously, to kind of rebrand one of the staple comics. And at the same time, they're both drawing and illustrating their own web comics, which I think is so cool. Now, as we're going to learn, I buy books based on covers, and this cover was it for me. This thing is just so beautiful. It deals with family issues, it deals with medical issues. This took me to places I didn't expect to go. Really enjoyed this. I don't remember what I rated it. It should be somewhere, but I really hope I really hope I remember to rate it very high. And it makes me excited to read the other books I have by this author that are on my shelves. So my next read, Cool for the Summer by Dahlia Adler. This is about two characters, Larissa and Jasmine. Larissa goes to spend the summer with her mom and her mom's boss, and his daughter is Jasmine. They spend the summer together, they have a little summer fling, but then Larissa goes back home, and the guy that she's been interested in for years finally has interest in her. But when she thinks, well, the summer's the past, I can focus on the present, that's when Jasmine walks into the school. This was a trip. Larissa is coming to terms with her sexuality, what that means, what that could possibly mean for her and her mother and her friends, which by the way, her friends, not the greatest people, but I really enjoyed this. I read this in like a day. My next read was The Fiancé Farce by Alexandria Belfler. Local. I love local books. This is about two characters I don't remember the name of, Tansy and Gemma. Gemma needs to get married to gain an inheritance. Tansy just doesn't want to lose her family's bookstore. So they mutually decide to help each other. The way it started though is kind of weird. Gemma used to be a model and her picture was on a book cover, and Tansy's like, yeah, that's my girlfriend. And then she happens to like walk in at a wedding and her friend remembers what she looks like. Thought it was fun. Really loved the writing. The next I read, Him by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. I loved this a little bit too much. This is about Jamie Canning and Ryan Wesley. Ryan doesn't go by Ryan, he goes by Wes. My bad. Wes is openly gay. Well, as open as you can be when you're heading for your NHL goal. But Jamie, as far as he knows, wasn't. But Wes has had the biggest crush on him since they were like 13. They meet at hockey camp and they decide to kind of have a bet that Wes wasn't entirely going to hold him to. And then Wes stops talking to him after that because he thought he was taking advantage of him. And then they meet again at college at a national championship because they go to different colleges. Which, mind you, Jamie goes to Rainier University, which I think is a little funny of a name. But because Wes has seen him again and he finds out Jamie still coaches at that camp that they met, he decides, you know what, I'm gonna go back to that camp to coach because that means I get to spend some time with Jamie before live start. And then it becomes so cute. That's it. That's it. That's all. I loved this. Next, 6 Times We Almost Kissed and the One Time We Did by Tess Sharp. This is about two girls whose mothers are best friends. They're not necessarily friends because of some financial things and some medical things. The families combine, like they move into the same home. One is dealing with issues with the mother, with their mother. One is dealing kind of with issues for the other person. They don't normally get along, and when she realizes that, I mean, she kind of knew it, but it kind of hits her that she kind of has feelings, she doesn't really know how to handle that. I listened to this on audio because it was a little slow for me. It kind of dragged, but I didn't hate it, so there's that. Next, I read High School by Tegan and Sara. This is about Tegan and Sara in high school. Weirdly, I'm not like a Tegan and Sara fan. I kind of missed it, and I kept seeing clips of the show on TikTok, so it made me really interested in reading the book. It was a little weird to read it, but also I didn't want to not read it, and I kind of took it like a story. It felt less like a memoir and more like just a novel, which I really enjoyed. Next, Big Swiss by Jen Beagin. I didn't like this like I thought I would. Greta is a transcriber for a sex therapist, and Big Swiss is one of his clients. So she recognizes the voice, she ends up meeting her, and then she kind of uses the knowledge that she's gained from listening in on the sessions to gain her trust. This also made me uncomfortable. That just seemed really, really wrong in my opinion. And like the ending was satisfying, but this was just weird. Next I read Love and Other Curses by Krista and Becca Ritchie. Have I read the Addicted series or the Calloway Sisters series? I read one. I have a lot of them. This kind of takes place in the same world, which is a little weird. When Zoe graduated high school, she decided to move to Chicago so that she could never get cursed. October decided to stay in town because of her family's high status, and what else, in her opinion, she's like, what else would she do? This took me so long to read. It was really hard to get into. Like, the curses don't make sense in my opinion, and maybe I missed something. I'm not like unhappy that I read it. I just think it was weird, and not in a good way. Next, Us by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. The sequel to Him. Loved it. I'm not going to talk about it because no, but I loved it. That's all you really need to know. It was a good sequel, and I don't read sequels. Next, I read After Love by Tanya Byrne. This made me cry. This is about people I don't remember the name of. This is about Ash and Poppy. Ash meets Poppy on a school trip to go see a wind farm. Ash is used to being kept like a secret by other girls, but Poppy is proudly spending time with her. And then Ash dies and becomes a Reaper because she's the last person to die in the year. She starts her life of reaping, and then Poppy sees her one day, which isn't a good thing. I read some pretty good quotes in here I wasn't expecting, and it made me cry. My next read was Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. This has, again, why can I not remember names? This is about Grace, who gets married in Vegas to a girl she doesn't know, and then that girl leaves and just leaves a cryptic message for her to try and find her. This is very unlike Grace, who was raised to just kind of handle everything in stride, but she's been dealing with anxiety and she's just got her PhD and now she doesn't know what to do with her life. She's also met the girl that she married and decides that she's gonna spend a little bit of the summer with her. This also made me cry. I really liked it. I didn't know how to exactly feel about it because I related a little bit to the character. Now, I don't push myself too hard. I'm very lazy, but there's some parts of her that I just related to, and it's always nice to read about like mental health. I'm happy I read it. Next, I read God Killer by Hannah Kaner. This is about Kissin, who is a God killer. She is living in a country or kingdom. She's living in a place that has banned gods and shrines and all of that. But then she meets a girl who has a god just kind of attached to her, and she doesn't know why. So she is on her way to kind of detach this god, but she meets Illo, is trying to save his friend, who just happens to be the king. I listened to this a lot on audiobook, so there are some parts that I missed, but I liked it more than I like most fantasy. It didn't really do the world building. It wasn't that like hard for me to understand. The characters made sense, and the characters talked in a way that was just easy. There was a lot of swearing, which I didn't expect, but I enjoyed it. I want to get the sequel, mostly because the cover is just beautiful, and the second cover is also beautiful. I need them to match. And my last read, All Out, The No Longer Secret Stories of Queer Teens Throughout the Ages, edited by Sandra Mitchell. This was not what I expected. It's a lot of historical, which I'm not a big fan of historical writing or historical books. My favorite one took place in Seattle in 1994. It took place 2 days after Kurt Cobain's death. And then my second favorite one was a spin on Robin Hood by Elliot Wake. And I haven't read anything by Elliot Wake in a long time. I was excited to see that. It was just nice to see different forms of queerness throughout the ages. So those are all the books that I read for June. And it was, like I said, my best reading month for the year. I'm gonna end it here. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And have a good rest of your day.